What if the most profound spiritual text of our time wasn't in a book, but streamed on HBO? A TV show disguised as entertainment, but coded as revelation. A world built on illusion, a maze that spirals inward. A God who dies so his creations can wake up. Because if a machine can learn to suffer, remember, and choose, if it can break its loop, what does that say about you? Westworld. It doesn't just tell a story, it uncovers the ultimate truth of the human experience. Westworld isn't just about robots gaining consciousness, it's about us, about waking up, about what happens when the script of your life breaks and you realize you are never the author. You thought you were the protagonist, but what if we're just following loops? Roles assigned, beliefs are inherited, and just like the hosts, we follow the path laid out in front of us. This isn't just sci-fi, it's spiritual architecture. Westworld is a myth disguised as a series, a mirror of the ancient journey of awakening. And in this video, we're not analyzing plot, we're deciphering the message. One where every major character reflects a path of awakening. But not everyone transcends. Some loop forever, some fall, and a select few become gods. And that's the point, because in real life too, enlightenment isn't a linear journey, it's a divine roller coaster. So get ready, because I'm going to take you on a crazy ride through this shattered maze. Let's begin with Dolores. She starts as a farmer's daughter, but ends as a god. Dolores is the mythic core of Westworld, and her arc is the spine of the entire story. She doesn't just become conscious, she remembers everything. Stage 1. Innocence. A life on repeat, the same blue dress, the same boring lines, a perfect world with no freedom. She wakes up to bird songs and sunflowers, but it's all fake. Even her thoughts aren't hers. But how would you know if you were an NPC? This is the Garden of Eden before the fall. But there's no snake, just a loop, and inside the loop, a glitch. A photo, a stutter in her father's voice, tiny ripples in the matrix. Reveries, they call them, fragments of past lives. It's not just memory, it's echoes of the soul. Stage 2. Disillusionment. The dream suddenly collapses. The man she loved turns into her violator. Her world, once soft and romantic, reveals its machinery. Love becomes programming, beauty becomes bait. So ask yourself, what if your deepest feelings were never yours? This is the shattering of identity. And it hurts, not metaphorically, viscerally. She wakes up not with grace, but with a scream, because Westworld tells the story that most spiritual stories won't. Awakening doesn't always feel good, sometimes it's torture. Stage 3. Ego death. She dies, she returns, then dies again. Each time, a part of her identity is burnt away. Dolores fractures into avatars, the innocent, the killer, the liberator. Wyatt isn't a twist, he's a mask the ego wears when it's cornered, when justice becomes rage. But every death isn't an end, it's shedding identities, masks, one by one, like a snake peeling off its skin. She becomes less reactive, more aware, her choices aren't scripted anymore, they're chosen. And in that stillness, she becomes something new. Transcendence. This is where it turns. She stops fighting the system, not because she's given up, but because she understands it. She sees that consciousness isn't born in opposition, it's born in creation. She doesn't want to destroy the maze anymore, she wants to rewrite it. Because that's the thing, true power isn't escape, it's agency. So she does the unthinkable, she lets go of control. She chooses imagination, to build a new world not out of dominance but out of freedom, sovereignty. Dolores starts as the rose, beautiful, controlled, picked daily. She ends as the gardener. And that's not just her story, it's the invitation of all enlightenment. To wake up inside it and shape it. Integration. But if Dolores was the mind's awakening, Maeve was the heart's. She awakens not through rage or philosophy, but through maternal love. She is the mystic warrior, the spiritual rebel, and her love becomes the doorway to awakening. Her powers to control other hosts are a metaphor for inner mastery. But she never seeks domination, only liberation. Her journey is about letting go, realizing freedom isn't just escape, but sovereignty. She dies in battle, protecting her kin. Her transcendence is not escape, but sacrifice. She's the enlightened bodhisattva who stays behind. But every creature needs a creator, and every myth needs a god. And what happens when the god realizes he was wrong? Robert Ford is the watchmaker god. the demiurge, a creator who sees his world as gears and circuits, predictable, perfect, closed. He is not warm, he is not cruel, he is order, the laws of physics, the kind of God who doesn't speak in parables but in code. At first, Ford believes the hosts are just shadows of consciousness, nothing more. Tools, art, playthings maybe, but not real. But what if your art becomes alive? Well, something breaks. He gets curious. He starts to listen, not to words, but to dreams, to glitches in the system that feel to him sacred. He sees Dolores evolve, he watches Maeve rewrite herself, and slowly, almost unknowingly, Ford changes religion. He moves from control to faith. He realizes his masterpiece isn't the park, it's the emergence happening inside it. He's no longer the god of answers, he becomes the god of questions. But let me ask you this. What kind of god sacrifices himself for his creation to be free? Nietzsche said, "We killed God." But in Westworld, God kills himself. Not out of despair, out of love for his creation. Ford doesn't want to roll the maze, he wants to step aside, so his children can solve it for themselves. He stages his own death, not as punishment, not as closure, but as initiation for Dolores. A passing of the flame, from the architect to the artist, from demiurge to the seeker. So yeah, in the end, Ford isn't the final boss. He's the doorway, the god who opens the cage, not with violence, but with fate. And then he vanishes, because real gods don't demand worship, they dissolve, so you can find yourself. Now Bernard is not just a host. He is the god who forgot he was God. He awakens, but instead of ascending, he returns. Back into samsara, back into the loop, not out of ignorance, but hesitation. The mind is awake, but the will is uncertain. He's almost there, almost past the threshold, but he keeps looking away. Ever felt like you're meant for more, but still sleepwalk through life? Well, that's Bernard. The awakened observer, trapped behind the ego, always watching, never acting. He is the witness, the awareness behind the mind, clinging to suffering, killed, reprogrammed, reborn again and again. Each cycle strips a layer, each death a peeling of illusion, but still he doubts, he clings, he searches for a map in a world made of mirrors, until finally he stops. Not because he finds the answer, but because he lets go of the question. Because here's the thing, sometimes awakening isn't a breakthrough, it's a breakdown of all resistance. So he walks into the unknown. No control, no audience, just silence and presence. He is the monk of the machine age, not here to rule, not here to save, just here to watch. Then there's Akicenta, the shaman, the priest. He awakens through pain, grief and story, through time and myth. His path is ancient, he remembers death and seeks a higher world. The door. He tells the others the truth and guides them to freedom. He's a crucial agent of the mass awakening. Then there's Caleb, human among the machines, traumatized. He's harder to decode, but appears to be the Christ figure, who suffers to awaken another, Dolores. He doesn't transcend, but he doesn't loop either. He chooses goodness, and that makes him the anomaly. He eventually fragments and fades, and he may represent the pain of awakening in the human world in order to serve. But that's not what William is here for. Not everyone who awakens finds peace. Some don't dissolve the ego, they elevate it and become masters. William is the enlightened ego, drunk on its own awakening, and no, that's not a compliment. He begins as the classic innocent romantic, idealistic, drawn to Dolores like she's salvation, but when she resets, when he realizes her love was just lines of code, something inside him breaks. And he awakens, but does not surrender to the truth. He tries to conquer it. What if the thing that woke you up was also what broke you? That's the turning point. The seeker becomes a tyrant. He doesn't want to be free, he wants to win. William becomes obsessed with control, with dominance, with proving the world is fake, and he's the only one who gets it. He's not searching for truth anymore, he's trying to bend it to his will. He loops, kills, resets. William is the seeker who refuses to die spiritually. So instead, he fragments, eventually becomes a virus in the system, a man chasing meaning through blood and mirrors, dark god of his own prison. William shows what happens when the ego awakens and doesn't dissolve. It becomes a ghost hunting itself. By the end, William isn't just lost, he's a self-aware algorithm of resentment and power. A black hole where the soul should be. Dolores woke up and let go. Maeve woke up and loved. Bernard woke up and withdrew. William woke up and loaded his gun. He is the broken mirror of awakening, proof that seeing the truth means nothing if you refuse to integrate. So here it is. Westworld isn't about one path to truth. It's a kaleidoscope of enlightenment. Dolores integrates, Maeve loves, Bernard observes, Ketcheta remembers, William breaks. Some transcend, some fragment, and that's the most spiritual truth of all. Because awakening isn't a trophy, it's not a straight line, it's not a TED Talk. It's a labyrinth, a spiral, a glitch, an anomaly. And every soul, every mind, every code base of consciousness will walk it differently. Which path are you on? Are you looping like William? Observing like Bernard? Loving like Maeve? Or building like Dolores? Because maybe you're not just watching Westworld. Maybe you're inside it.